Saddle up your horses.
Pitter patter, let's get at her. It is another episode of the Mainly Broncos podcast. Obviously, as you guys could tell since yesterday with 5280, I am using a different microphone. Probably one of the reasons why I sound a little bit differently. One of my unit, if you will, kind of went kaput, so I'm going through a bit of a transition there. We have a great show lined up for you guys. Obviously, now with the schedule being out, it would be a perfect time to evaluate the position groups. And what's really cool is, Jordan wasn't here for it, but we had the pleasure of doing this like 2 or 3 years ago. And so given the fact that there's so much turnover now in just those 2 to 3 years, and the AFC West being truly the best division in football, or one of the best divisions in football, it felt so appropriate now to do a look at it once again. So we're going to do the tier maker list. You go into that site and go through there, and then you're going to see us obviously put the specify logo with each position group. And how we're going to do that is obviously quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But before we dive into any of that, we're going to have Brandon obviously here join us in just a little bit. But Jordan, he is very well recovered from that devastating playoff performance by the Boston Celtics. He's in much better spirits because it is 100% Broncos season now. His mind is clear and ready to talk about some more Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, I need football to be here immediately, but Broncos season's looking very positive. We have a very positive outlook. I'm looking forward to the Broncos season. Looking forward to football as well. So I have a big football year ahead of me, and I may be going to a Broncos game in Denver sooner than I thought.
Oh,
while planning things out, just saying.
You're saying that it might not be that Colts game that you were talking about. Might not just be that Colts game that you're talking
It's
about.
not just the Colts game. I can't confirm. I'm going to more than one game.
More than one. Well, we'll have to, exchange what games we're going to make sure that we're going to the right one.
Yes.
So, what's up, Clayton? Yes, make sure you listen to what Clayton was saying and smash that like button. Also, hit that subscribe button for MHRT Network on YouTube. And we are pushing up until the very end of the year to get to 2,000 subscribers. I believe we're at 1.4 or almost 1.5 now in terms of subscribers. So we're getting there. We are finally getting there. And we are Broncos maniacs. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. We'll get Brandon on here in just a little bit to have a bit of a full show. What's up, Judson? I see you in the chat there. So before we dive into any of that, I would figure that it would probably be beneficial to at least talk about some of the national NFL news and notes, if you will, meaning some of the rules changes, or ones that didn't pass, ones that passed, and I figure we have to start with a bit of a push and, talk about that one, if you will, for the first rule. Let me just take it off to you. How do you feel about the tush push?
I mean, my general thoughts about it, I believe that it should not be banned. There's only really one team that is very unstoppable at it, and it's the Eagles. If it was half of the league, then I think it's more of a serious conversation. But since the Eagles are the only ones that really do it and do it at a very high rate, I thought it was a bit unfair just to ban it just because they're really good at it. Now, with that being said, Denver is going to face that tush push in week 5. And yes, I will be overreacting and probably getting mad to us. But with that being said, I think it was good that it did not get banned. If it was so easy and so successful, I think everybody else would be doing it. but that's not just the case. We don't see every other team doing it. It's just the Eagles and the way they line up and the way they do it. We've seen other teams try to do it and they can't do it.
Yeah.
So there is a method to the madness there, and just a lot of teams can't do it, and only the Eagles can. So I'm glad that wasn't banned.
It's a different way to look at it, but it's just to what you're saying. It's like I said, it's a different way to look at it, but it reminds me a little bit to the Cam Newton celebration, right? Like everybody was all up in arms about the Cam Newton, the Superman celebration. And while it was annoying, still, if you hate it so much, stop it. And that's basically in essence of the tush push. If you hate it so much, stop it. And I think the part of me, in terms of the layers of, the tush push idea that was being banned, if you will, by the Packers. Like, right, they were like the main team that was spearheading that, and obviously it seemed like it was coming down from the league, which, in essence, forcing them to ban it. That's probably another idea in and of itself. But one of the parts of that I just thought was insane to me was there was a part of the rule that was in there where it said no offensive player, any offensive player, it cannot assist, in that ball carrier to push the ball. So in essence, you're telling me that everything like a Javonte Williams run where 2-3 offensive linemen pushing piles, or Dalton Reisner lifting up Philip and him into the end zone, so you're basically telling me that it isn't just the tush push rule that we are banning. We are basically banning good football at that point. And I think that that's just pushing it to the where it's just like, what are we doing here? Like you're making it truly the no fun league. How are you doing, Brandon?
Doing well. A bit tardy here. My apologies. But yeah, I did see that the tush push still lives on. So that praise for all of the Jalen Hurts dynasty owners everywhere. It's kind of funny to me how that is brought up every single year. I'm just like, get better at defending it instead of complaining. But
yeah,
we'll see.
I mean, I'm not a coach, but
you are a coach, but not.
Well, yes, technically, but not for football. But I always thought, and this might sound dumb, if this ever gets to a defensive coach, they might just laugh at me. But how about the defense? Once the Eagles are about to do the tush push, how about you align the same way they're doing, and you push one of your guys like that as well? Usually they're just going in there. How about you get your big 350-pound guy, pretend he's the quarterback, and you just push him, and you just have a pushing match at that point. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like tug of war. You're gonna stop having tug of war?
Yeah, I think I'll have my 2 linebackers pushing my 350-pound defensive lineman. Imagine the Bucks getting Levante David and Devin White if they're still there. I don't know where they're
in their prime, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah, imagine them pushing Watson in. The one they just drafted, 700 pounds, and just pushing him like it's a tush push. I'm pretty sure they can stop it like that. I don't know, but I'm not a coach or a football coach. So.
Yeah. It's just going to be interesting, and obviously, it's a wild phenomenon, and I think the fact that it's getting banned, and I think what's so sad is even though it wasn't banned today. The overall conversation, it feels like it's trending to even
it's
next year.
It's going to happen at some point.
Yeah. Like it's going to get banned probably by next year is my guess. So, one of the other rules, of course, which was at least a positive one, I think the hilarious part is the level to it, but you can now do onside kicks at any point in the game. But you have to once again declare that you're going to do the onside kick. That's the layer of it. That's just like why are we declaring that we're going to be doing an onside kick? The whole point of doing a surprise onside kick is to literally do a surprise onside kick. So if we're gonna literally pull what Sean Payton did against the Vegas Raiders, right? Like at the beginning, like it's literally the beginning of the game, and like, hey, we're doing the onside kick at the beginning of this game. Like it's wild to me that
onside kickoff. Here it comes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
When Sean Payton did that, I literally thought we were winning the Super Bowl. Like I was just so happy.
Yeah.
Until it was a flag and it was a penalty, then I was like, oh shit.
Well, and it was one where because it didn't go 10 yards or something.
Yeah.
It was like an eagle touch.
But at the time, I mean, that moment was so awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, and then of course there's the reseeding, which did not happen, which in essence is going to almost make the divisional games maybe less as impactful, which was probably its strongest takeaway. I don't know how long it's going to be for that, but the reseeding and the reseeding of that was one of the other big ones that happened today that did not pass.
I kind of like that one not being passed. I know a lot of people have mixed thoughts about it because that means like the Vikings last year would have like had a home game because they weren't they had a better record than like I think what was the NFC North winner. But I like it. It just makes it makes the division games matter more because you have to win your division to get a home game. Like it's I don't know. I like it like that. I think it makes the division like more impactful. And listen, if you want a home playoff game, win your division. Do everything you can to win the division. You get a home playoff game. It should be like that.
And I think the whole reason why we're having the conversation is because of the NFC North last year. And it's like that was 1 year, right? That was 1 year where teams were 10 plus wins, for all three of those teams, and it's almost like an anomaly year. What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to kind of see how that plays out. I don't know. This is going to be the absolute craziest division and conference in football this year. Like you could easily see 10, 11 win team not even make a wild card spot. Like I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be, we'll see. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah. And obviously, it's going to be interesting to feel. I will say this regarding divisions, and not to go down a bit of a bunny trail. I think he posted it on X or Twitter, but Sayer's idea of the divisional winners, and I don't know if you saw this, Brandon, but what I would like to do, or what I would like to see, is the compensatory pick formula awarded of the divisional winner. So, like, if we're going to be talking about something like that, I would rather it be something where you're rewarding something like that, like a compensatory pick for like a divisional winner, because at that point you're making it so that winning the division is far more impactful as much as it is, winning the Super Bowl. So
I can't see the Chiefs. Please don't allow the Chiefs to get more picks. That would be stupid.
But it's just one of those things, like it would make it to where like the Raiders, the Broncos, the Chargers are going to probably do everything in their power to make it, so that the Chiefs don't win it every single year, right? So that's like the bunny trail of like the whole division, argument, if you will. All right. Any other things that you guys want to discuss? Obviously, we would like to express our thoughts and prayers to the Indianapolis Colts and the Irsay family. It was very tragic what happened today, and when the news broke about Jim Irsay, crazy to for news like that to break. I mean, he was a rather famous owner, if you will, in the NFL. And so to see something like that, which was really came out of nowhere, like it was just something that was, I knew that what Jim Irsay was going through some health stuff, like 5 years ago or something like that, 5 to 7 years ago or something like that. So to see that unfold was was crazy because you don't really expect that. And he passed at age 65.
That was so shocking to see show up on my timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And I am just at a loss for words. Like, prayers to his family. That's so still young, honestly.
65
at 65.
is young.
I mean, it's not exactly older man. Like, he still has still should have had a lot of life in front of him. So that was really hard to see. And hopefully his family's doing okay. But the Colts put out a nice statement for him. Clearly, like, he meant a lot to that organization and community in Indianapolis. So that'll be tough for the Colts, their fans, and obviously his family.
Regarding the main topic of tonight, and I know Brandon is quite familiar with this exercise, and I was telling Jordan, Brandon, we did this, I want to say it was like 3 years ago. So it seems like now with the makeover that the AFC West has done, it seems appropriate, to do the rankings of the AFC West positionally, if you will. So meaning like you have, this is a little bit different, if you will, but like what teams have the best, positional group, if you will. So it's a little bit different. Like the last time we did it, we did players, right? Like we did, like we were saying, like, oh, we would choose Max Crosby and Khalil Mack, right? Like, so this is just going to be like, okay, the Chiefs have the best quarterback room. The Raiders have, X position, if you will, like maybe like that edge room, right? With that maybe just led solely by Max Crosby, right? So it's going to be a fun exercise. And I was able to pull up something that's going to maybe make it a bit visual for it, and that would be the tier maker. So we're going to basically put it in in each specified position. And it's going to end up putting it with the QB, running back, wide receiver, tight end, defensive line, edge, linebacker, cornerback, and safety. So
this will be fun.
Yeah,
I didn't know we were doing a tier list today. I'm a sucker for tier lists. So,
but I wouldn't say it's a tier list, if that makes any sense. It's, you know what I mean? Like it's more about like, I couldn't think of like the best way to do something like this except for like to do like a tier maker, if that makes any sense.
That's still a tier. There's tier in the description. So
I get it. All right. So let's just start off with the obvious, and that would be the quarterback position. Now, obviously, I think it's definitely led by probably an easy decision here. But that said, it has been closing. The gap has been closing for probably 4 years now. You're starting to kind of see that gap finally close a little bit. But I would venture to guess that there's a common consensus here for quarterback.
I mean, it's never not going to be Patrick Mahomes. Like right. That's just the truth. Like the gap can get as small as it wants to get. It's just not. It's never going to be anyone else for the foreseeable future.
It's the Tom Brady argument, right? Like it's not the argument, but it's the Tom Brady conversation, right? And it's one that, until Brady retires or is out of that specified division, it's one where probably the moment, say, Patrick Mahomes leaves, not to be too biased, but the moment that Patrick Mahomes leaves that division, Bo Nix will be the best quarterback of that division.
There you go.
As much as I love Bo Nix, I also can't agree with that yet. But things could change this season.
Things could change. But I think that's safe to agree, right? Would be quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, running back. What say you guys about running back? You have the Raiders, who probably would be. Obviously, they have Ashton Genty, but he's entering the league as a rookie, right? But that's really the only household name. Obviously, there's Raheem Mostert in the building. You do have the Broncos with Audric Estime, RJ Harvey. You have the Chiefs, who are led by Isaiah Pacheco, right? And I don't know if Samaje Perine is there, but they do also have Brashard Smith, who they drafted. So where are you guys going in terms of the running back position? This is the tricky one because it's like probably of all the offensive positions, this might be one of the hardest.
I think this is the probably sole place where you can almost throw the rookie title out the window because rookies produce as again running back. Like there's literally there is no transition period. If they're elite in college, they're elite in the NFL. And like, are there exceptions to that rule? Sure. And is it like a situation where am I saying that this team is going to have the best running game in the AFC West? That's a different story to me. I don't believe that. But the best running back individually in the AFC West is Ashton Genty. And like I know he hasn't played a single snap, but if you look at what he did in college, it's Ashton Genty. Like
still college though.
It's still college, but objectively he's the best running back in this division. And like he's a rookie, yeah, but
when you're looking at position groups, is it the best position for like of the teams? Are you saying are you trying to say
you look at the room as a whole across the division? It's still kind of a one man show, like in terms of at the top. Like obviously there's other people as well in those running back rooms, and it kind of depends on like, do you like Najee Harris still on the Chargers? And I don't, so like. It's kind of like they're as good as their best player, in my opinion. And I'm going to say it's probably Ashton Genty right now. And like, is that a crazy statement to make when he hasn't played any football? Yes, but I still think he's the best running back in the division. And ergo, I think that they have the best running back room in the division. Do I think they're going to have the best run game in the division? No. Like their offensive line is not the best offensive line in the division. Like they could have some issues there in terms of what he's running behind, and that could kind of cut into his production. But he's so good that I feel pretty confident saying he's already the best running back in the division. You don't have to put him there, but that's just my opinion.
So you're saying the Raiders have the best running back room of the division? Okay, what do you say, Jordan?
I think I would have to agree with Brandon right here. Just because Ashton Genty, I view it like this. Would the other AFC West teams want their top running back? I think the Chiefs, the Broncos, and the Chargers would all want Ashton Genty. I think if you say that with like RJ Harvey to the Chiefs, Raiders, and Chargers, I don't think they would say that. I don't think the Chargers, I view it like that. I think right now the Raiders do have that guy in Ashton Genty.
I'm overruled, obviously, 2-1, but I was kind of with Kodiak on it. Like, and obviously I may not have wanted, Najee Harris to a certain degree, but like the room of Najee Harris and Amari Hampton, just those two is better than like Genty and Mostert, if that makes sense. And I
don't think Najee Harris is that good, but I could see why you would believe that.
Well, and I just think that maybe it's just the scheme or just the fact that, maybe the Chargers kind of have kept Dobbins, if you will, on a weird unrestricted free agency tenor that I have never heard of in my life. So I don't know. I think the Chargers probably have the better room. And then you would probably go from there to maybe the Raiders and then the Chiefs and then the Broncos. And I think the question will be like, if we did this exercise in the off season, what would it change to? Because there is a very real chance that, it could change, right? Like Harvey obviously went to a really good situation. They clearly still believe in Estime. Maybe the Broncos aren't finishing last, right? Here.
this is why I think it's important to state they have the best, like who has the best running back room does not necessarily mean who's going to have the best running game. That's a different thing to me because it factors in more than just a single player. Like the Broncos are probably going to be last in just talent of that room. Like that's just a given. We've had very poor running backs for a while recently, unfortunately. And I think that like we have the best offensive line in the division and like fantastic opportunity for RJ Harvey, and RJ Harvey's going to ball out as a rookie. But I still can't ignore the fact that like it's still probably the worst running back room comparatively, just at a talent level. But like again, it's more than just one position. You need like so many other things to go your way to have a good run game, and like a lot of it is still on the running back, and it's like a position where a good running back can make a huge difference. Absolutely, like probably one of the bigger positions in the league, in the sport. Like you see it all the time. You have a good running back come in, even as a rookie, and just blows up, absolutely blows up, and transforms the offense for that team. So I do say, like, again, I'm pretty confident that we probably have the worst talent wise, but that doesn't mean it's going to be bad. Like we probably would have a better running game, honestly, than I think the Chiefs might this year. But that's a different question to me.
Judson chimes in and says Clay ranked the Broncos running back room 32nd, and then Clay, or I should say Jordan, ranked the wide receiver room 31st.
Seems pretty accurate.
See? Seems pretty accurate.
You know, I did a whole episode last year on the ranking. It wasn't the whole wide receiver room, but it was ranking the wide receiver one for each team. And then it's obviously me ranking Courtland Sutton where people did not like him where I ranked them.
Mm-hmm.
I had a whole thing about that. I'll never forget that.
So now we move forward to wide receiver. Obviously, the Broncos certainly got better, and this is another one of those cases where like it's the wide receiver and running back room might be one that's a reevaluation, because like at the end of the year, depending on what they do, right? Depending on what they do with like Pat Bryant and Courtland Sutton. Yes, I said Pat Bryant. Depending on what they do there, along with some of those other contributors of that wide receiver room, you might be talking about maybe they may not be number one, but they also might be one where you're having a bit more of a conversation piece by the end of the year. So that being said, who has the best wide receiver room?
I mean, in my opinion, it's still the Chiefs.
You think it's the Chiefs, even though the Chiefs are nationally, if you will, the national part of this, the Chiefs wide receiver room is Chargers wide receiver room is led by Ladd. This is the case where I'll also kind of pose the same argument for Omari and Hampton and Najee. Do the Chargers have the best wide receiver room with Ladd and Trey Harris?
That was just my argument that I was having in my head right now. I just think it's a 1A Chiefs, 1B Chargers type situation. But
they also re-signed Mike Williams as well.
Yeah, but I just the Chiefs still have the best wide receiver in our division, Rashee Rice. I mean, Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown are still two notable guys. I really like what Sky Moore can do as like a little gadget guy, and they just drafted Jalen Royals. Juju Smith-Schuster is another one that, you know, he's a gritty type of guy. In my opinion,
it might be Chiefs. Yeah,
I still think they have the best room.
This is kind of one of those weird positions where we're all very similar. Like we don't have a great wide receiver room. The Chargers don't have a great wide receiver room. The Raiders don't really have a great wide receiver room. And the Chiefs, for a long time, that's been their biggest thing, is they don't have good weapons. Now, Rashee Rice coming back and being healthy is a big difference maker. And then, like, you get the rookies involved in this, which literally 3 of my favorite wide receivers are now in this division, in the draft, on different teams, which is great. I'm fine. In Jalen Royals, Jack Besh, and Trey Harris, I hate it so much, but whatever. Like, this is a position to me where them being rookies does factor into the conversation. And like, I think we're all pretty much on even footing. Like, I think when you look at wide receiver ones, like obviously we have Cortland Sutton. He's probably pretty on par with, well,
depends on how you evaluate Evan Ingram.
Wide receiver one, not tight end one.
But I'm
He's
just
still
saying.
A tight end. He's still a tight end. And like Evan Ingram is not going to be your weapon one at 30, over 30 coming off that injury. That is not going to be the case.
I get it, but it's like,
it's Cortland Sutton until it's not. I mean, Cortland Sutton, Yarashi Rice, Lad McConkey, and then I don't even know who the wide receiver one on the Raiders is. Like
Jacoby Myers, I guess.
Like they're all pretty even. I mean, Jacoby Myers is definitely the worst of that bunch. But he's not bad. I mean, like, I think again, we're pretty much on even ground here. Like, could that change with what happens with the rookies? Sure. But
it is
unless you're Jamar Chase or like an upper echelon elite Justin Jefferson, upper echelon elite wide receiver, you're usually not coming in as a rookie and just exploding. Now, can it happen? Sure. But I think honestly it's pretty even, personally.
Because it's also like, you know, if we're gonna lump Brock Bowers into the wide receiver conversation, right? Like, and we're not gonna do that. But so yeah, I think we are, now that we're kind of breaking it down, saying that the Chiefs, right? I'll probably have to add the Chiefs again.
Yeah, I might have to add the logos a few more times.
Just a little bit.
There you go. That was quick.
That's what happens when you work in media.
That is true.
And then you have the tight end room. Now, this won't be the Broncos, but they have certainly closed the gap. And they have certainly closed the gap to where Travis Kelce might not be the best tight end in the division.
No, he's already not the best tight end in the division.
I don't even know if he's the second best tight end in the division, given the fact that Evan Ingram is on board. So obviously, I think we can all agree that the Raiders have the best tight end room, and it is solely led by Brock Bowers, who, you know,
he's the best tight end in the NFL right now.
Right, and made a case.
I feel pretty confident in that. And like George Kittle is probably 1B. It's close. You could make an argument. You could convince me to go either way there, but it's crazy how good he is, Brock Bowers.
What do you say, Jordan? Like, if you were looking at this and you're saying, I think we can all agree it's the Raiders, but like the question probably is it the Chiefs number 2 or is it the Broncos number 2?
By the way, I would just like to preface to say I think the Raiders by far have the best tight end room, because even their tight end 2, Michael Mayer, who has not gotten a fair shot, in my opinion, in that, because he's really, really good. He just hasn't gotten his fair shake in the NFL yet. That tight end 1 and 2 punch for the Raiders is really good, and it pains me to say it. But in terms of the second best in the division, you can make an argument that the Broncos can be there. You really can, but just because of the greatness of Travis Kelce, it still has to be the Chiefs.
It is interesting though how a signing makes it a bit tougher.
It is. But I would also say Noah Gray, that signing for the Chiefs, not signing, but that Noah Gray has been good for him, and then the Chiefs also just signed Robert Tonyan, who he did pretty well for the Packers too. So
well, and I think that's the part of it too. We're looking at a room. And as much as we, you know, can talk about how Adam Troutman is a serviceable tight end too, and Nate the GOAT Atkins, or, you know, I know I'm sure Kodiak is still on the stream, but, you know, Nate Root Beer Atkins, it's an inside joke between Kodiak and I, obviously, if you've been following what he's been doing. You know, they have Nate Atkins. That's a far lesser room compared to probably the Chiefs, or, you know, as far as like, you know, 2, right? Because again, the Broncos room you take Ingram out of it, you're probably talking about it being last, right? So, like,
It's still Kansas City too. Like,
no,
and it's not-
I meant like it goes to show you the impact of Ingram, though. Like, you take Ingram away, and like the Broncos are last compared to like second.
I don't think we're second.
I'm just
And
saying in
I'm-
terms of conversation.
I know what you're saying, but like I just don't think we're second. I'm being as unbiased as I possibly can here. Like, yeah, Evan Ingram raises the bar, but the bar was literally in Antarctica. Like, the bar didn't exist, so it doesn't take much to raise the bar when the bar doesn't exist. Just literally, the bar exists now. That's kind of how I see it. And look, I'm excited for Evan Ingram. I am. I think he's going to give us something we haven't had in a long time. But I'm not even like, I'm not going to say that we're even close to still what Travis Kelce is. Like, I mean, yeah, did he kind of fall off a little bit? Sure, but he's still Travis Kelce. And until he just proves to me that he's like washed, I'm still going to put him second. And Brock Bowers is just going to be number one now because, like, of course he is, because we always have to have the best tight end in the entire league in this division that we have to play twice a year for 10 years. But I think I would put the Broncos third. I feel pretty comfortable with that. Do I think they could get to second? Sure. But I need to see what Travis Kelce looks like this year. I need to see what Evan Ingram looks like this year.
And that's fair.
And I'm just being as honest as
I think overall I
need
do
to be.
agree. I mean, like, I think that there's a conversation to be had about like who is two between the Chiefs and the Broncos.
Oh yeah. I mean, and the fact that there can be any semblance of conversation is a testament to like the bar existing now.
Right. Exactly.
But
where
it
it
gets
gets
still the Chiefs.
But 1,000% where it gets impacted is once you look at the Broncos room of Troutman and Atkins and, you know, the GOAT Caleb Lawner. Now I think we might reach the point where we have our first back-to-back of Broncos. You know, I think for it, if you're looking at it for me, the Broncos have the best offensive line in the division. They also have the best defensive line. You know, in the division as well. So I don't know what you guys feel, but it certainly feels like the Broncos being well regarded as a top offensive line, you know, in the division, I think is going to be a big deal. And I think specifically too, when you look at the fact that the Chiefs, you know, are, you know, they moved away from, you know, Joe Thuney, and there's a bit of some question marks there a little bit, right? And then the Raiders, they're okay, right? They're trending at least upwards, at least. I think the argument for offensive line is Chargers or Broncos, and I think it would probably tend to be the Broncos there and not the Chargers.
I think we have one of the better offensive lines in the NFL.
Yeah. Yep.
Go ahead, Jordan.
No, I was just saying, like, I think this is probably one of the easier ones to kind of make out in our division. I mean, Broncos by far have the best offensive line in the division, and I don't think it's even particularly close. I think the Chargers are closing the gap, and I think that's more towards Harbaugh in favor.
Yeah.
But the Broncos still have the best offensive line.
Yeah, and I think what really pushes it in favor of possibly Chargers is you have your bookends of Slater and Joe Alt. And I think objectively, if you're probably talking about it for me long term, I probably would want to have those bookends, you know, of Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater for the foreseeable future. But that's not what makes a full offensive line, right? And I think that when you have Quinn Miners and you have, you know, Ben Powers, really the only question mark of the offensive line for the Broncos is center. But even then, it seems like Wattenberg, he's serviceable. Like, he is serviceable. But, you know, there are some questions there. But, you know, the fact that that's your only question mark kind of would, you know, say that it's still a pretty solid offensive line, despite the fact that, you know, Wattenberg was there.
Yep.
I think center is definitely the one area where it's kind of like the weak link, if you will, of the Broncos line. But we clearly have the best in the division and one of the better ones again in the entire league.
And to continue the theme, they have the best trenches in the AFC West. I think it's venture to say that they have the best defensive line as well, right? This is,
I mean, Chris Jones being on the Chiefs always is going to make them a contender, but I do think for this season specifically, like absolutely, I'm going to give it to the Broncos. The reason I say that is like we do have some guys hitting free agency next year that are going to be a bit more hard to lose, but I do think it's probably also the Broncos. We have the best trenches on both sides of the ball, which is a great place to be.
Oh, yeah. Jordan, do you agree?
I agree. There was another team I was thinking about besides the Broncos, but I think they were for sure second. But and it may not be the Chiefs.
It may not be the Chiefs. So then we're not really ranking a second. So what would the second be?
I very like the Raiders defensive line with Max Crosby, one of the best in the game, and then Christian Wilkins, who's a
Christian
pest.
Wilkins, if he's healthy, yeah.
I mean, that's definitely a good one as well. The Chargers, I think, are going to probably be at the bottom for me.
Yeah,
Which is
them losing Poona Ford sucked for them,
but I will say two things here. It'll be interesting. For the Chargers, because I think it's a testament to how good Sean Payton has really turned this team around. The fact that you have the offensive line and defensive line and the Broncos being number one in both of that is a testament to Sean Payton and the fact that he's been able to build this team in just a short amount of time from the inside out. Right. And that's a huge testament to him. And I think that Harbaugh being a trench player, it'll be interesting long term what the conversation will be for them, because he's starting to build that offensive line, and you know that he's a trench player. So he'll get that defensive line to where it needs to be. So I don't know, like it'll be a fun conversation, in the next 5 years. When you look at it of, maybe the Chargers and Broncos are going to be competing for the number one defensive line in the division. Yeah. So
I think a lot of this to me depends on what are we able to do with the contracts on the defensive line? Like, can we keep John Franklin Myers, for instance, which I don't know what's going to happen there, but that's kind of where I see this depending on is like in the future, just who can we keep there? Like, what does that look like? But other than that, I mean, for this year, absolutely, like I'm giving it to us hands down. But there are just some questions that I have that are going to be like, how this is going to look in the future. But I mean, obviously, there's always going to be a question like that.
Yeah. And then I can't even upload another image. As far as edge, linebacker, corner, and safety, I think we might be maybe not the edge room, right? Like maybe there's an argument to be made for edge, but cornerback and safety, I think we can all agree that the Broncos are going to be sweeping that one. Pretty clearly. What about linebacker and edge? When you look at it for them, like I think that's where you have a bit of a conversation there, right? Like, because linebacker, obviously the Broncos got Dre Greenlaw, right? Alex Singleton's injured. The weakness, if you will, of the Broncos front seven is the linebacker room. Of the entire front seven, if you will. So would you say it's the Chiefs? as far as linebacker? Would you say it's the Chargers? Would you even say – I don't know if you could even say the Raiders because they went through a bit of a transition there where, right, like Robert Spillane's not there. I don't think that – they didn't re-sign Divine Diablo, right? So they're kind of going a bit through a bit of a transition there.
Yeah, the Raiders just got Devin White, but that's pretty much all they have. Man,
I think I'm going to go with the Chiefs, but I'm curious to hear what Jordan is going to say here.
I was gonna say I think I'm leaning towards the Chiefs just because of Tranquil and Bolton, just the experience they have. But the Chargers can make an interesting thing. Is I'm a sucker for Denzel Perryman, and him and Dan Henley that's a good combo in my opinion. But I think it'll be Chiefs 1A and then Chargers 1B for me.
And then now we get to the edge room. You know, what would you say? What would you say for the edge room? And the Broncos led the entire NFL in overall sacks.
It has to be us.
It has to. It would have to be us, or or could it possibly be just overly led by Max Crosby?
The thing is, I don't count Max Crosby as an edge. I think he's a defensive end. I think there's a big discrepancy there. Like Zach Allen and John Franklin Myers, like those are considered defensive ends. Edges are more like John Cooper, Benito, and those guys. That's how I view it. That's how I view it. I don't know how you guys view it. Like I even look on depth charts like online. They have him as a defensive end and and as edge. For the Raiders, they have like other guys there. So
I think for me, he's an edge. But it's one of those. It's one of those like positional gray areas, right? Like whenever you see an outside linebacker / player that could play defensive end or et cetera. Like it's kind of like the how you want to define it, right? I personally would say he's an edge player. Right. What would you say, Brandon? I think when we did the player rankings of the AFC West, we had Crosby as an edge, if I remember right.
See, I kind of consider like if you're a pass rusher, I'm going to call you an edge. Yeah. And I still think it's Denver. Like I'm still giving it to Denver, but Max Crosby is obviously just like incredibly good for the Raiders, but just in terms of the full room and the depth of the position, it's Denver. But I do kind of lump Max Crosby in that edge category, especially when we're talking about something like this. When, again, like where else are you going to put him? You can't just ignore him in this ranking, and they don't have defensive end as an option here. I mean, you can put him on defensive line, but that's not – I don't think that's really even what he is. So I'm going to say that he's an edge player. I think he's probably I would probably put the Raiders second in that list, but I think I'm going to keep the Broncos first. I did notice you put the Broncos first at safety, and I'm curious to talk about that a little bit more.
Go ahead. No, you don't think it's safety?
I don't know, man. The Chargers with Derwin James, Alohi Gilman, Elijah Molden, like pretty decent room there. Like I love Brandon Jones. I think Derwin James is just better. Like I might say it's the Chargers.
The Chargers are I think that there's no doubt Chargers if the Broncos are number 2, the Chargers would be number 1. But I think that for me the Broncos the way that they have with the way that they control that safety room with Brandon Jones and Talanoa Hufanga, and the way that they can operate that, I probably would tend to go more to the secondary there.
If Hufanga's healthy, is Hufanga going to be healthy? I don't know the answer.
He's healthy right now, right? And so
I think that same argument could be made with Derwin James though, if he's healthy.
True.
He's rarely healthy. I think I would list it like
I'm gonna
this.
put the Chargers first personally. I need to see Talanoa Hufanga on the Broncos before I can say, because like literally before we signed him, our second safety spot was like, I mean, no offense to PJ Locke, he's a good piece, but it was just not good. So I'm currently gonna say it's the Chargers. The only like position where I feel comfortable ranking a room that I've not seen play at all is running back, as evidenced by what I said about the Raiders.
I thought you were going to say for the defensive side would be quarterback. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, just in general, like
yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna give it to the Raiders right now. Could it beat Denver? Sure. Like on paper, absolutely. I do see the argument that could be made for that. But I'm gonna say the Chargers probably are number one for me right now.
Did you say it was the Broncos for safety, Jordan?
Yeah, I think I view it like this. What safety room I would rather have in the AFC West, I would go with the Broncos one. I know everybody has a love affair with Derwin James, and rightfully so. When he's healthy, he's a beast, absolute beast, top 3 safety in the league. But he's rarely healthy, and they have the other guys at that position too that are pretty good in my opinion, and that don't get enough love actually, if we're being quite fair. But I think I would rather have the Broncos safety room.
And maybe it's just because I don't know. Maybe it's for me. It's like I don't know truly how they're going to evaluate Barron and his initial impact, right? Like I think the idea is for him to play nickel, but he's such a versatile player that he could play some safety, right? And the fact that you add that wrinkle into this is another layer and another level to it, to where he can impact that safety room, as well. So, I think it might even be this, because isn't Elijah Molden in that same conversation? I think he's like a cornerback safety, if I'm not mistaken. I know when he was at Washington, when he was the Washington Huskies, if you will, he was a corner. Gosh, he was so good at Washington. But it's a fun conversation, and it is one that like you certainly have, and then you reevaluate at the end of the season, and you're like, oh gosh, these things stayed the same. These things changed a bit significantly. So it is going to be a fun one to kind of reevaluate a little bit. But any final thoughts though? I mean, overall, I don't think it's that disappointing of a list, if you will. The fact the Broncos are dominating it, even on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I think if we would go on with the list, I think offensively, unfortunately, the Broncos would be 3 and 4 for the rest of the offensive positions.
Yeah.
Besides offensive line.
But I think I would have to agree there.
Yeah. If there was a team, and granted, there's a lot of teams that are in the show me state from the offensive side, and as much as I like the prospects of Jordan's favorite wide receiver, Pat Bryant, I like the prospects of him with this team, and just with what they could do with the room. And I know Sean Payne doesn't have a true wide receiver one. It's always how he's been. Depending on how that shakes out, you're talking about a different wide receiver, and depending on how Estime feels, depending on how Harvey feels in terms of the 1-2 punch, like I'll just spitball here obnoxiously. Like, if we get the D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart year with Harvey and Estime, like that's one where they're clearly the number one running back, in the entire AFC West. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. But it's spitballing there about how possibly things could change. Yeah, I think it's a fun exercise, and it's certainly going to be one that you reevaluate after the season. But turning the page here just a little bit, obviously we had the schedule release last week, and I know we did a pod, like the initial reaction of the schedule. But did you guys have any second thoughts? Any changes to what you guys felt like in terms of ceiling, floor, or just overall takeaways from their schedule? Did it change at all?
I don't think so. No, I mean the only thing that I just continue to notice is like how absolutely brutal the bye week situation is going to look like here. But yeah, I don't think it's a situation where I'm like going to walk back anything that I said. Like I still believe like absolutely I probably could see this being a 10 or 11 win team. And like, I know that we just won 10 games and like, I'm not necessarily forecasting immediate improvement, but like, I think it could be, I mean, I definitely see like a ceiling of 13 wins. I think I see maybe a realistic floor of probably 10 wins.
Floor of 10.
I mean, I say realistic floor in the sense of like, if everything plays out well in terms of like health and everything, like I don't see how we win less than 10 games. But like, let me ask you this: if we win the same amount of games that we won last year, we get to the playoffs, same exact thing happens, but we look noticeably better. Bo took a leap, and just like some things didn't go our way. Like, would you be happy with that?
You're saying kind of like the CJ Stroud year to a degree. Like he hits the 10 wins, but he gets into the playoffs again?
Well, I wouldn't say it's the CJ Stroud year because specifically with Stroud, like he did kind of have a little bit of a sophomore slump. I'm saying specifically we win the same amount of games we won last year. We win 10 games. Bo looks better. He looks like an improved quarterback, but there are some maybe struggles there because he had like we had some injury or just like something didn't go our way. And he looks better, but we win the same amount of games. Are you like happy with that? Is that a successful season to you?
I am. Yeah, if we can
what
we did last year, 10 wins in a playoff game, I think I'd still be happy because, in my opinion, there's still a lot of improvement to be made within the offense. And I've listed that and my frustration about that. So if he can do it again back-to-back years, I'd say that it'd be pretty good. Because in my opinion, I think he's doing more with less. Now, the year that we do get him more and actual guys, then we'll be having a different conversation. But yeah, I think he's making the guys around him a lot better, and people really don't realize that. At least nationally, they don't realize that.
I probably would agree there. So probably consensus. Same kind of conversation. It's just the fact that you have a team like, and the fact that like they still make the playoffs, and it would be the first time where in Broncos history since Manning, right, that you would have a quarterback who's starting the season, that very next season, and he takes them to the playoffs. It would be the first time since Manning, where, they were able to go to the playoffs of back-to-back years. So like that would be a dub anyway, regardless of how it shakes out. So yeah, I just think that like the team is still fresh and it's new, and it's one where they're just primed and ready to take off, right? And I know that it seems like that was something that James Palmer mentioned to Kenny Adams. Was it today or yesterday? Like it seems like they're very pedal to the metal, for their ceiling. But I'm very curious, how it's all going to shake out. Obviously we didn't necessarily touch on it too much, but what were some of your guys' strongest takeaways of rookie minicamp? There was some wide receivers, not one of the two that were Jordan's love child. Joaquin Davis and Juwan Newton, but more so Courtney Jackson, who shined. Johnny Walker was one. Pat Bryant was one of rookie minicamp that stood out. But what were some of your guys' takeaways, at least in the early portion of rookie minicamp?
That RJ Harvey's quad is built like a country.
It's bigger than my face.
I think it's bigger than all of our faces combined. If I'm being quite honest.
We might actually have a debate of who has the bigger quad, AJ Dillon or RJ Harvey.
I mean, that guy. I'll say this, and again, I understand they're only just videos, and it's only rookie minicamp. But the way he moves or the way he's built is pretty crazy.
Yeah, you don't want to get too wrapped up into like the rookie minicamp stuff, right? But Brandon, it's just like when you see the way he runs and his jump cuts and the way it's so smooth, and you don't want to get too overzealous or overexcited about it. But like it is wild to see that work, and you see kind of the way it moves. More often than not, like those types of cuts will work. It's not the flashier stuff. It's not the, he's
just fast, man. Like that's the biggest thing that stood out to me is like those jump cuts are speedy. This guy is going to be an absolute blur out of the backfield. And just the rookie minicamp kind of just solidified that. And absolutely, this dude's built like an absolute tank, man. Like, yeah, he's only 5'8", but
he's built
gigantic.
I mean, he and Ashley Genty compare.
I hesitate to make this comparison just because, like,
go with it.
Can kind of be misconstrued in a very specific way, but like he has the Barry Sanders build.
There we go.
The Barry Sanders quads, the Barry Sanders height. Barry Sanders is somehow still like faster because Barry Sanders ran like a 4.3. Barry Sanders was just absolute freak of nature. But like you want to compare, you want to see a guy at the next level that can succeed as a 5'8" running back.
Yep.
There's a lot of them, and that's one of them.
He gets low to the ground, man.
Like it's hard to bring down. Like he's so hard, like he's so low to the ground, you can't really get under him, and also he's so huge. Like I could slam my shoulder into his quad, and I'd probably break my shoulder. So yeah, it's All right, it's crazy. Although the one other thing that I will say that just kind of stood out to me a little bit is one of the undrafted free agents, like the undrafted free agent tradition probably will continue here again.
Yeah.
And specifically wide receiver, I might butcher his name, but Jerjuan Newton from Toledo, I think. Looks like he might be a dude for us, man. He is fun. I don't know exactly how we're gonna utilize him, but I think he's Toledo's all-time touchdown scorer.
Statistically,
he looks fun.
Well, and I think I said it that statistically, he and Pat Bryant were like in the top 20. And I know it's just receiving grade and PFF's grades or whatever, but like they ranked in like the top 25 of like the top receiving grades according to Pro Football Focus's grades. So take that for whatever it is that you will. But he's fun. I think I said it last night, but if there is a lottery ticket of the undrafted free agents, if you will, want to call it that, it would be Joaquin Davis. Like you see a guy roll into camp that is 6'4", 220 pounds, and runs a 4.40 with a massive catch radius. Like that is something that you want to build in a lab. And I hope that Sean Payne is looking at that. And I don't know if that's a player that you personally just stash. Like it would be like the 53-man roster version of a taxi squad in fantasy football. You don't play him. You just put him on the 53-man roster and you inactivate him every single week, except for maybe like the last game of the season, just to see what he can be able to do in like regular season action. But like that is a guy like that I would love to just stash away, like develop him, because like the highest ceiling you could possibly have for a guy like that would be like an AJ Green, like a physical, like body catcher, fast, like that would. I'm not saying he will be, but like that's the kind of traits that you would be dealing with if you develop that. So he feels to me like a lottery ticket if he could be able to work it out.
That's another good one.
Kyrie's White for Judson looks like a bit of a player. One of the other guys, Jordan, I think you and I touched on this when we did the undrafted one, was Karen Reed.
Yes. From Utah.
Yeah, linebacker from Utah, which, by the way, I don't know what is in the waters of Utah that the Broncos just love, but they love some Utah players. And it dates all the way back to, Garrett Bowles and Tim Patrick. But they do love some Utah players with Lavelle Bailey, obviously Caleb Lawner, Thomas Yasmin, Karen Reed, Lavelle Bailey. Like the list goes on and on and on. They love those Utah players.
Yeah. He's for sure. Just because I don't want to say how weak our linebacker room is, but just because there's a player that can be added into that room to add more depth and more competition to that room. It would not surprise me at all if he makes the 53-man roster if he has a strong training camp in preseason. There's
at least a window there where he can be able to do something.
Like in preseason, we usually have guys to watch out for. He's for sure going to be one of them. All three games.
Not to keep the Utah theme strong, but it happened to Lavelle Bailey.
He missed a free throw.
I love the play-by-play.
The Knicks are folding right now. Just saying, but my bad. If people haven't seen me react, I'm just watching it.
I want to go to Boney's tweet. Now, I know there's a certain account out there that's been flowing around about predicting Pat Bryant's stats, and obviously I went with 110 targets and 110 receptions for 1,219 and 9 touchdowns.
The Pacers just hit a game winner.
Okay.
Damn.
Oh my God! They just came all the way back, and he just hit a game winner.
Okay.
And he hit the choke sign. Oh my God!
Did the Reggie Miller, if you will?
God. Oh shit! I'm on 5%. Wait, I gotta get my chart real quick. Hold on, guys. Wait, I'm freaking out.
That's when the basketball coach of Jordan is coming out, right? Like, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy that the Knicks would choke that. So there was a post about that on Twitter from Sleeper Broncos predicting the stat line for Pat Bryant. I want to take what Boney's saying here about what are your predictions for RJ Harvey this year.
Did we talk about this last week? I feel like I did. I think I said something like 1,100 rushing yards. No, wait.
We did touch on a little bit on this, but
it was 1,100 total. It was 800 rushing yards, 300 receiving yards, and then I'll say like 6 rushing touchdowns and 2 receiving touchdowns, something like that. So somehow you get to 1,109.
Okay. Yeah, I think we did talk about it because we mentioned about how Alvin Kamara's rookie year, he had like 1,500 like scrimmage yards, right? Like, or I think they call it all purpose, or if you will, but like receiving and rushing, he had like 1,500 yards, right? And then he ended up winning rookie of the year with it. But like overall in his career, when he was with Sean Payton, like he had like on average of 1,500 yards, like of the receiving and rushing variety. Like it was wild to see the numbers that he was being able to put up. So I don't think it's out of the question that 1,500 yards of rushing and receiving is out of the question.
I don't know if it's out of the question, but that would be a hell of a year.
I think he has a very reminiscent rookie season to what Alvin Kamara had his rookie year. I think We've talked about it before, but I'm standing very firm on that stance as we get closer to training camp and all that. I just believe in it.
Yeah. Now, to put it back on you, I know that there was an account out there, Jordan, who posted about Pat Bryant's stats or predicting Pat Bryant's stats. What would you say to you guys that would be a good Pat Bryant? Pat Bryant season.
Maybe like 450 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Pat Bryant, number one hater, Jordan. What do you say?
A good season for Pat Bryant, in my opinion. Now, is this based off the expectations I have for him, or just what's a good season for a rookie wide receiver?
This is what is a good season for Pat Bryant, according to Jordan T. Lopez.
I mean, I think according to Jordan T. Lopez, a good season would be 0 snaps played, but
All right, I want to take it that far, but I will say I will be impressed with Pat Bryant if he gets over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think if he gets 300 to 400, I think that I'm like, okay, maybe there's something in him. If he gets 400 or more, then I'll be very impressed.
I actually want to just pose this for you because I know that you've been a bit critical of him. What does he have to do on the field? Take stats out of this. What does he have to do to win you over?
To win me over, the things I need to see, and I've mentioned it multiple times. I'm pretty sure people are very annoyed to hear me say it, but he needs to add a different dimension to this wide receiver room. So what is that? I need him to create separation on a very consistent basis, not inconsistently where he gets to create separation 1 every 4 games. We're going to need it day in and day out just because of the wide receivers we have in that room. We already know all the frustrations we all had last year with the lack of separation that was being created in man coverage and the struggles that they had just separating in general and just getting open, right? So that is my number one thing I'm going to be looking out for with Pat Bryant. I understand his 40 time, and I've been critical of that, but I also do understand you can have a 40 time like that, but you can also still be really good at separating because there's still other layers of route running besides speed. And I do understand that, but the number one thing I'll be looking out for is separation and creating separation. And we need a route runner in that wide receiver room, and we do not have one. And the second thing I'll be looking out for is yards after the catch. Everybody loves to bring up the Rutgers clip that he had when he scored the game-winning touchdown and said, look, he can provide these yak yards. With me, I just saw awful defense by Rutgers and terrible angles. Maybe I'm just a little bit too critical of that. But again, if he can create those opportunities and he can make a play after the catch, if he can do those 2 things I just mentioned, then I'll come out very impressed, and he can have something within that room in the near future.
The devil has been mentioned.
Yes,
Little Jordan Humphrey. I would venture to guess that it probably won't be Trent Sherfield because he's going to be in probably a special team specialist, to use that word. This is mostly a Broncos podcast, Paul, but we do talk about some NFL stuff. We actually talked about the rules changes that unfolded at the beginning of the top of the show. So we do talk about NFL, and actually we do help me out here, Brandon, but we do right around right after the 3rd preseason game, we do season predictions of divisional winners. So we spent some time, talking about some NFL, here and there. So it's probably predominant.
The title of the podcast says it all.
Yeah, it is Broncos, but
mainly Broncos.
By the way, just to update everybody. It was listed as a 2, so they're going to overtime. Just wanted to clarify that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
But I will say the Knicks were up double digits with like 2 minutes left, and the Pacers stormed all the way back.
It's true. Who knows? We might see some A.T. Perry.
Hey, please. I mean, my God. I'm not saying he's going to be the next wide receiver 1, but he can give something to this room. We don't have.
I don't know, though. The more times that he's been given and he's not really shown anything.
His stats say otherwise. I mean, he averaged 18 yards per reception when he was with the Saints. So,
but he didn't. But we didn't. He didn't crack the Broncos wide receiver room, which apparently ranked 31st, 32nd in the National Football League. So
little Jordan Humphrey has dirt on Sean Payton.
Hey, that dirt is now gone, and he is now a New York Giant. Okay, like he's down there in New York. By the way, it's I will say to give Kodiak some credit. He has a comparison for Pat Bryant that has been on my mind as of late, and us talking about Pat Bryant, it made me think of it. Jordan might actually fall up his chair, but he has a comp for him, which is Puka Nacua.
Who?
You heard me.
Who? Wait. Who? I say that again?
Pat Bryant's comp that Kodiak could see for him is Puka Nacua. See? Jordan's about to fall off of his chair. He is about to fall off of his chair.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah, Kodiak's cool. We'll have to get him on the show. He's a fun character. We'll have to make sure we talk about some Desmond Watson. He's a huge Desmond Watson fan.
See, that I can get behind.
Yeah. All right. That will do it for this show. We actually are not going to be doing a show next week. We're going to be taking a bit of a breather. We all need a bit of a breather. And now that, we're kind of hitting a bit of the dry period, if you will, before training camp, we're going to just, take a nice little relaxing week and not record. We will be back that following week. I believe it's the week of June 2nd. So we'll be back for another episode of the show. I think it would be beneficial to maybe start diving a bit into positional reviews. So maybe we start doing some positional reviews, quarterback, wide receiver, et cetera, of the Denver Broncos and how much it's been upgraded. So I know we did positional groups of the AFC West. So now let's kind of go into the Broncos as a whole, how much they've upgraded, downgraded, et cetera. And that'll be when we come back on the week of June 2nd. It has been an absolute pleasure. And make sure you follow the boys. Make sure you follow Brandon at Brandon Miller PO. And he will make sure that he follows you back or accepts your follow now that he is on private. But make sure you follow Jordan at Jordan T. Lopez. He also is a right contributor for Predominantly Orange, so check the work out that he does over there. Follow myself on X at Cameron Parker PO. You can also follow the show handle at Mainly Broncos. You guys can check out any form of this show. Obviously, we have the YouTube format, but you can also, I think you can check it out on some of the audio forms. But if not, you can go here on the MHRT Network page of YouTube, watch this stream over and over again if you feel like it, if you really enjoyed this stream, or you just really enjoyed that one section of the show where Jordan completely crashed out over a fake game winner that was ruled a 2-pointer that went into overtime. So yeah, feel free if you want to go back and just watch the last 2 seconds of that, or the specific 2 seconds of that. That'd be great. But yeah, make sure you tell all your friends about the Mainly Broncos podcast. It is an absolute pleasure. And of course, before we go, we always have to wish.
Let's go Broncos! God bless Bo Nix!
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flame out. so high.